Okay, I think, we can start our today's session. We already made an introduction in the first session about PACE. Just again, briefly, I would like to share a little bit about PACE. We are a nonprofit community-based organization. For those who don't know us, that's what we do. We have different departments. I am from Business Development Center, where we work with the small businesses. So we have different type of services, counseling, procurement, and access to capital. I will share our contact details. I will share also Lindsay's contact detail in case you need any additional information, any assistance, anything. Please feel free to connect with us, and then we will be more than happy to, work with you. So without further ado, I will let Lindsay start. I know there is a lot to cover, so let's go ahead. I will stop sharing, and you can start your presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We are on our third session today, and today's focus is one of my favorites. This is about the power of public relations. And we talked in the first session about what does PR mean, and it doesn't mean press release. It means public relations, and there are different components to it that we'll review today. We're going to talk about what it is, why it's essential, and how we do it. So I'm the CEO and president of Marketing Maven, a bicoastal full-service agency, and also the author of The Marketing Maven Method, Secrets of a Maven, which is a Barnes & Noble bestseller. All right, so for today's agenda, we are going to talk about public relations being a key part of any brand strategy, how it shapes public perception, how it drives credibility, and drives growth. And we're going to talk about the PR fundamentals, real-world applications, and ways to measure success. So some of the questions are, what is public relations? Next, we'll give a few key PR strategies and actual examples so that you can think about your own business and how you might use public relations to promote your business. I'll give you an example of PR in action, how to measure success, and then how PR fits in the bigger marketing picture. And then we'll do some key takeaways and some questions and answers. All right, first things first, what is public relations? So this is the definition and key elements. So we have first, strategic communication. This is planned messaging that aligns with business goals. So for example, if a company is doing a pivot, we have one client that doesn't want to be known as a data company. They want to be known as a MarTech tool, marketing technology tool. This is a big shift in what people know them as versus what they want to be known as. And so they have a strategic communications plan that we help them develop that talks about what makes them a marketing technology as opposed to just a data company. Next is reputation management. These are issues that you see all the time in the media where, just say a celebrity got a DUI, or there is, there are some type of shenanigans that happened, or there was a lawsuit that happened, or something like that. And so this is monitoring and influencing public perception. So it is important. You can have this happen just even from 5-star reviews. So even working with a realtor, maybe there are all 5-star reviews, and then there is just one-star review, and it says really bad stuff on it, and how to deal with that. That is reputation management. Next is stakeholder relations. What does this mean? Key audiences. I've used the example in the past with a nonprofit. So nonprofit could have multiple audiences. Stakeholders would be corporate donors, a board of directors, individual donors, and volunteers, and then the people that they're serving. So you could be a nonprofit and have 5 stakeholder groups. And the more stakeholder groups you have, the more gingerly you have to walk while still knowing exactly who you are and what you're communicating to. But the way that you communicate to an investor audience versus the way that you communicate to the people that you're serving might be a little bit different. All right. Next is crisis management. So we like to say it's not if, but when. A crisis could be something like your email gets breached and you have ransomware and somebody at your company clicks on a phishing email and oh no, what happened? Or somebody at your organization wired money to the wrong account and now you have a deficit and have to explain it. So some of these things are crises. Crises happen in all shapes and sizes. The California wildfires, that was a crisis. What happens if you can't get product out to your customers? That's a crisis. And so a lot of times, if you remember back in the day, you used to have a phone tree, and the phone tree is, okay, if there's an emergency, first you're going to call this person, and then that person calls that person, and then that person calls that person. Well, now there's social media, obviously. So part of crisis communication is determining who's going to make the statement via social media. Do we need legal approval first? Who is our legal counsel that will give the approval? And then does the CEO take calls from media, or do they get directed to the PR agency and then they facilitate to find out what the questions are? And do we have a policy that our staff is not picking up the phone and responding on behalf of the company formally for a LA Times interview or a USA Today interview? You never know who's going to be calling. Sometimes if the person answering those questions is not prepared, that could be very detrimental for the company. All right, next is brand narrative. So this is crafting a compelling story that resonates. I think I've used the example about Cindy Crawford from Meaningful Beauty. Why is it that she's at this beautiful field in France and finds this very beautiful fruit, that this fruit growing is going to wind up being the main ingredient in this beautiful skincare product? And that's part of their brand narrative. Or it could be the Tom's brand narrative, where you have, we are a company about giving, and for every pair of shoes we sell, we're going to give one back. Or it could be, for me, I founded my company when I was 26 years old in the guest bedroom of my home and grew this thing from the ground up. And now we're a Inc. 5,000 company, and we just got the Inc. Regionals Award today. And that's part of our brand narrative, that we've created this method. And so every single one of your businesses have a brand narrative. It's about how you position it and why you created the company or what the company is providing in terms of a service that didn't exist before. I like to say that I created accountable public relations because public relations was something that historically hasn't been very accountable. And I'll show you why when we get to the metrics part of the conversation. So let's talk about why public relations is essential. Beyond building awareness, PR delivers measurable business impact that other marketing tactics can't often match. What do I mean by this? I come from an industry where a lot of the TV products that you might have seen, just like the Snuggie or the OxyClean or some of these other really big brands throughout the years. Some of them have been yell and sell, but some of them have really worked hard to build their brands. There have been a few in the beauty category, for example, and I believe one of those gentlemen sold his business for over $300 million. And he is somebody who really, really cared about selling the business. And you can see this also, Guthy Ranker with Proactive. They wound up going public. And then you had Beachbody. They wound up going public. So some of the brands that have spent time and energy and a lot of effort on public relations have turned into billion-dollar companies and have had very successful exits. The companies that have not focused on PR and just say, sell, 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 okay, next product, sell, 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 next product, sell, sell, sell. They're not building brands, and they might get short-term financial success, but they're not getting long-term brand building success. So it builds credibility. This is one thing that we see with online sales. So just to put an ad out there is fine. You can go to a website, but we talked about owned, meaning that content that the brand comes up with, like what's on your website, what's on your blogs, what's on your social media channels, and then paid, which is social media advertising, television advertising, print advertising, out of home, billboards, etc. And then the third bucket was earned, and public relations ties into earned media, and that's what other people are saying about you. And it's one thing if your next door neighbor says, oh, this is the best lawn fertilizer company, but it's another thing if Better Homes and Garden says this is the best lawn fertilizer company. It has a lot more credibility that way. So people would be more likely to buy a product or service if the media says, oh, this is a good one, you probably should check them out. So this is why a lot of brands care about this. It also drives conversions. So if, for example, you only do advertising and you don't have the publicity, then it's a little bit harder for people to trust you. And then maybe you'd only get 2% conversion rate on your website instead of 4% conversion rate on your website. And this is why it's really important to pay attention to all of those metrics. Next is longevity. Longevity means that it lives online forever. So if you've been in the newspaper, say that you're in LA Times or San Fernando Valley Business Journal or one of these media outlets, it stays online. And so as opposed to an ad, it's here and then it's gone. It passes by. This has longevity for people to look up the brand and see where you've been. And then it also improves your search engine optimization. This is how Google favors you and the content about you and your company is through search engine optimization. So since there's new content and since the media outlets have high domain authority, meaning that Google says that they are credible and they're valuable, etc., they get pushed up toward the top of the list. Next, it strengthens the brand. So it improves the reputation in the whole marketplace. So think about trade media, for example. Trade media, as opposed to consumer media, is your industry. So if you're in the public relations industry, there's a publication called PR News. There's another one called PR Week. There's another one called O'Dwyer's. And if those outlets have information about your organization, then that organization knows, okay, they are a good company to work with and they are very credible, because one of those industry trade publications would know, oh, if they're not very good, I'm probably not going to mention them because it would look bad on my publication. Next is supporting growth. So you can support higher customer acquisition and higher customer retention. So think about I order a multivitamin on my on Amazon Subscribe and Save. I get that every single month. If there is positive news about that multivitamin in some of the trade media that I read, like Natural Products Insider or Nutrition Insider, or NutraIngredients, then I will say, oh, good, I'm making a very good decision by ordering that multivitamin every single month. If I kept seeing something about another multivitamin, I might think, I know I like my multivitamin, but maybe I should switch because there's so much good stuff about this other one. But if I keep seeing the one that I'm buying, I'll say, wow, I should probably stay on Subscribe and Save forever. So they retain me as a customer for longer. And that counts toward lifetime value of a customer. And lifetime value of a customer is how companies make money big, big, big long term and build enterprise value. Ties into all of those things that we just talked about. All right. So why is public relations essential? While PR, marketing, advertising all contribute to a brand success, they serve different functions. So understanding the roles helps create a well-balanced strategy. So we talked a little bit about marketing. This is overall strategy, brand positioning, customer outreach. Think about this like some email marketing, some database marketing, and how the brand's positioned. What are we calling the different products? How are they color coded? Do you do color blocking? And what is your naming convention? And how are you positioning it in the market? And how are you pricing it? All right. Advertising is the actual paid promotions. I think everybody gets that now. They're meant to drive sales or drive awareness. And so you have to have all of these different goals tied to your advertising. Next, public relations centers around earned media, media relations. And earned media means there's no money exchange. Unlike advertising, I'm not going to the LA Times and say, hey, I'll pay you $5,000 if you cover this. It doesn't work that way. That's unethical, and it's called payola, and it's not done in public relations. So there are some that are sponsored. For example, some morning shows, for example, now have segments that are sponsored by XYZ, but it's always disclosed. It must be disclosed. If it's not, it's unethical, and you could actually get in big trouble for that. Even if you're sending a product sample to a blogger, the blogger must disclose in their article, I did receive some sort of compensation in the form of a free product. This is really important to know about in the PR world today. So again, PR is earned media, media relations, meaning talking back and forth with press, and then strategic communication. I'll give you a really funny example of something that we're pitching today. Since it's April Fool's Day, we have a client called Heckova, which is a freeze-dry premium dog food and dog treats. And they have a spoof video that they just put out about this dog cologne called Dog's Breath. And it says like, oh, your dog's so great. Why don't you smell like them all the time? And it's this really funny video with the dog's hair blowing in the wind. And it's just hilarious. And so we put out a press release today saying that they're launching this video that is tied to their new dog cologne called Heckova Dog Cologne, and with the smell of dog's breath. And we're going out to some of the like Mashable or BuzzFeed and AOL Weird News and some of these media outlets pitching, hey, how cool that this brand did this really funny spoof for April Fools. Is this something that you want to cover? And so that's called media relations. And we're doing that with podcasts. We're doing that with TV and radio and newspaper and magazine and online media. Strategic communications would be like, what are we actually saying? What is the quote from the vice president of marketing? His quote is very important about why is the brand actually doing this, and their tone of voice is very quirky too. It's really fun. It says like, we believe that we should celebrate the weirdness of our pets, and so we decided to do this as a fun spoof for April Fools. So you can have a lot of fun with PR. Some of my most fun and most creative things that I've done in my career have been tied to public relations. I did a Norwegian design tour with Ty Pennington from Extreme Makeover Home Edition, took him to Oslo and Bergen and Stavanger and Ålesund, all throughout Norway, to promote the exports of Scandinavian furniture into the US market, and got hired by the Royal Norwegian Consul General to do it. So, and got Access Hollywood coverage and NRK front page coverage for Ty and for the whole program. So, all right, next is key PR strategies and examples. So, core PR tactics. So this is a toolkit for working together to reach your target audience through multiple channels. Okay, so media relations, I kind of explained pitching, press releases, interview coordination. This is a lot of back and forth with different media, and you have to know a little bit about them. So it requires you to research them in advance. You must know who they are, what they cover, how they cover the stories. There's a reporter that we work with really frequently at NPR, that's National Public Radio. And this NPR reporter is at KCLU, and that's in Thousand Oaks, California. And he likes to cover stories that are in Ventura County. We have pitched him different check presentations that go for nonprofits, but they don't cover they don't cover check presentations. So we know that now. So if somebody's doing a check presentation to a nonprofit, we're not going to pitch them because they told us, hey, we don't cover check presentations. So you kind of have to get an idea of what people like covering, what people don't like covering. Sometimes people like bylined articles too. And that goes into the next bucket, which is content development. So bylined articles, case studies, thought leadership, that can be part of the PR strategy. Next is digital PR and SEO. So digital PR is like having an online newsroom, having a backlink strategy, and backlinks are like a hyperlink. So it goes back to a deep page on your website. For example, we just put out a press release today about Marketing Maven's Inc. Regionals Award that we just got today. And it was something called embargoed. It was embargoed. We knew about it a month ago, but we were not able to say anything about it until today, April 1st. And then we were able to make the announcement because that's when they were making the announcement. So it's all coordinated timing wise. So what we did in the press release is we actually took a link. So if you said Marketing Maven, then we linked it back to our website, marketingmaven.com. And then if it said the Marketing Maven method, then we took that phrase and then we linked it back to that specific page on our website. So that is called a backlinking strategy. And that is done in an SEO press release. You can also do the same thing in blogs too. So some blog content, you would have it linked to other pages on your website or other blogs, 2 links of those, and then you would do 2 links that link to outside reference sources that you're referencing, obviously that are not competitive to your business. Next is strategic media targeting. So this would be traditional media outlets, digital outlets, and social channels. Sometimes you can even have a whole PR strategy that's a social media strategy. So for this heck of a dog cologne spoof launch, they're putting paid digital advertising behind it, and then we're bringing the PR piece to it with all the earned media. So it's a timed out, perfect collaborative type of opportunity that ties in their social media channels, both organically, meaning owned, and then also paid, and then we're doing the earned. So it's a perfect little triangle of marketing right here. All right. Next is SEO press release. So this is, I'm going to show you the anatomy of an SEO press release and what makes this special. So over on the right, you can see what the actual press release looks like. So on the top is a headline, and the headline can't be too long, and it's not a full like compound sentence. This is Dr. Hose. This is a former client of ours that he's a big TV personality in Canada, actually, and he has done advertising in the US for quite a while. And he is a chiropractor who is an inventor who developed these back belts. So he has a decompression back belt and he has a neck brace, and all of these things work to help stretch out your back. So a lot of people love these. So we have Dr. Hose shares back pain solutions as the showstopper on the shopping channel. So that is the headline. And then some of the keywords that we have throughout, you can see them highlighted. So we have Dr. Michael Ho because he is the inventor and the owner of the business. And then you have the shopping channel, and that links back there. And then we also have multimedia elements, and you can see his picture there with the thumbs up. And so that's what it looks like. And this gets syndicated, meaning that when you put a press release on the wire service sends out this press release to hundreds of different media outlets. Then it gets picked up by maybe somewhere between 90 and 110 media outlets. Some of them are really, really big. For example, Yahoo Finance might pick it up, or Associated Press might pick it up, or some other quite big ones like Market Watch. And so those are the ones where you want to start using their logos and say, as seen in Yahoo Finance, as seen in Market Watch, as seen in Associated Press. And so that's how you start getting the news out there. And then those have very high search engine optimization value because overall these wires on the press release, the wire that you send it out on, gives it this high value as much as a Forbes.com article. So it has a domain authority of between 90 and 95, which is out of 100, which is fabulous. So it is something that I would recommend doing. If you can afford it, I would do one a month. If you can not afford it, do one a quarter, or just do 2 a year, but definitely think about doing this because it will definitely help your business and what people find online about it. All right, so what are the media pitching essentials? This is a relationship business, so you have to do what you say and say what you do and have those meet up every single time. So if you say that you're going to give a media contact quotes before, 2 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, you better not miss that deadline because they're counting on you. They're on such tight deadlines that if they don't get the quotes, they don't get the materials, you just burn your trust with them. And so to be in this industry of public relations for 20 years, over 20 years, is a huge deal. One of my staff has been in this industry for over 35 years, and he is meticulous about getting back to media contacts when he tells them and not dropping the ball. And sometimes the deadlines are super, super fast. So if your client can't turn around or your CEO can't turn around a quote, you have to go back to the contact and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get this to you in time. Maybe we can do another one and not wait till the last minute. Otherwise, they'll be quite upset. And remember, this is not advertising. It is editorial coverage. So you are a news content provider for that media outlet. They don't have to use the quote. They don't have to let you approve it first. They don't have to do any of that stuff. And nothing's off the record. So I would be really, really careful about saying, oh, here's my quote, but really blah, 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 and saying stuff that you don't want to wind up in print. So just be cautious because it is freedom of the press. And so you want to be very controlled with your messaging and make sure that this is another big thing, to not use any AI at all, no chat GPT to come up with your responses for press, to not use chat GPT to write your press release because you want to have the copyright on it. You want to make sure that the publication that you're giving it to is able to run it. And if it came from chat GPT, then that cannot be the case. And same thing for byline articles. There's actually something now through Forbes.com on Forbes councils that you must agree to that says that you will not use ChatGPT or any AI tools to come up with your content for the articles. So this is really important because I know people are using it daily, and you can use it in other stuff like in your owned social media content. Go for it. Use it as a tool. But in your earned media, do not use it. Please, please. It'll backfire big time. All right, so now I talked about researching the appropriate contacts. Think about their beat, and the beat is what they cover. So if they have a beat of entrepreneur or small business, then you have to explain, okay, this is a small business, so they can check that box and say, okay, perfect. But if you're pitching a small business reporter, a company that's publicly traded, they're going to say, that's not a small business. I don't cover this. Please do your research next time. So same thing too, if you are covering if you're trying to pitch a beauty product to somebody who covers food and beverages, maybe that's not a good fit unless maybe the product is a functional food that's a beauty product. Maybe it's a collagen bar, like a bar that you eat and it's a collagen made from collagen. Or maybe it has, you mix it in water and then you can drink it and it's a functional beverage. Maybe that would count. But you have to draw that connection prior to sending that email or send it with the email. All right, so drafting compelling story angles. I think this is the trickiest part of public relations. And this is what separates the good publicist from the okay publicist from the great publicist. And so think about these 5 factors: timely, local, quirky, hard news, personality involved. Timely, quirky, hard news, local, personality involved. And if you have 4 of those factors, it's a really, really great pitch. If you have 5 of those factors, you got a winner. If you have 3 of those factors, maybe you'll get the coverage, maybe you won't. If you only have 2, you need to work harder to think of number 3. So let's use the dog breath cologne example because it's really fun. So compelling story angle. All right. So quirkiness, very, very high. Who's ever heard of a cologne called dog's breath scent? That's pretty funny. So that's a quirky factor. Timely is it's because it's for April Fool's Day, which is today. So it's very timely. So we're pitching all day today. And local, so this company is based in Omaha, Nebraska. That'll be a really good local connection that this local company came up with this. So those are 3 factors. Hard news might be, wow, these companies that had April Fool's spoofs actually saw an increase in sales. That would be hard data that we could reference in our pitch. And I'm looking for that type of hard data right now so that we can make our pitch better. And then if we had a personality, that was the 5th thing, this would be a home run. So if it were like, I don't know, LeBron James's pet company, or this celebrity's dog was the model in the cologne commercial, then that would be a really big deal. So if we have 5 factors, it's a home run. If you have 4, it's better. If you have 3, you might want to try and find number 4 so it can get picked up really well. So that's the compelling story angle. Next is valuable data and insights. So this might be like, X number of pet companies do April Fool's spoofs. Maybe it's 50% of pet companies that do it. Or maybe it's only like 2%. And we're like, why are we taking ourselves so seriously? We should be having more fun with our pets and have more fun just in general and be doing this. The next thing is follow-up. So this is also a very delicate thing. I like to say professionally persistent. So professionally persistent might be give it a day or 2 and say, hey, just want to make sure that you got these photos, just want to make sure you have everything for your deadline. And then they'll say, yep, got it, thank you. Or no, we're not interested in using it, or whatever the situation is. But the biggest thing is building long-term relationships. So a lot of our media contacts we've been connected with for years. I'm thinking of David Moy from AOL Weird News. He's somebody that we went to with this pitch, and he and I have had tacos in San Diego together, probably like 12 years ago. But it's a long-term relationship, and we've sent him different quirky things throughout the years. Some of them he can use, some of them he can't use, but I don't get mad if he can't use something because it's not a good fit. And again, it's not an advertisement, so we are at the mercy of the journalists and what they feel is best for their audience. They are the gatekeepers to determine, does this fit with content that's my audience would find interesting, or does it not? And so if it does not, then you could ask them what else you would need to make it relevant. And they might say, bring me some stats, or show me that it's a trend, or I need customer names. And this happens a lot of times in the B2B space where, sometimes you are not allowed to give customer names and give some big examples. And that's what maybe a USA Today wants to see, is who are customers that are using this technology. But if you're not allowed to say, then maybe they can't take the story. So we must respect deadlines and their preferences. So for example, if like our cybersecurity client gets quoted all the time, But if there were a case that he just got quoted in an article last week, they're probably not going to use him again for like a month or two, because every single article that comes out can't have the same source getting quoted every single time. Although he is qualified to be quoted every single week, that would get boring for the readers, and they'd say, are you even a legitimate media outlet? Because why do you only have one source for your articles? You should be sourcing more people, more experts. So I hope that's helpful in terms of media pitching essentials. All right, so what does this actually look like in action? We use a media press book, and so this is showing all the coverage for clients. And so we're able to highlight the press clips and also link to the press releases, which give official statements, and use high-res imagery. High-resolution imagery would be like 300 plus DPI, JPEG, or a PNG file. And then we always have a contact for the media inquiries, and we measure the success indicators. And I'll show you what those are. So if you look on the right, this is a client example. You can see kind of a compilation of their media coverage. And this is the one that I gave an example of our cybersecurity expert. His name is Steve Turchian. He's the CISO, so the Chief Information Security Officer. And we have 38 pieces of coverage for them. They have 392,000 views and a total audience of all those publications of 249 million. So it updates continually, and you can see on the bottom right, it's really small, but they have a domain authority. It shows for every single one of these 38 pieces of coverage, what the domain authority ranking is and what the total audience view is. It has a direct link, and then it shows how many people have actually viewed that article. So this is really helpful to see what articles got the most traction in terms of views or have the highest domain authority, and it helps us assess what press we should be focusing on. All right, next let's talk about business to business PR, B2B PR. This is a little bit more focused on thought leadership. And so this could be establishing industry expertise, and it's a decision that you have to make for your own company. Do you only want to have one person be the thought leader, or you want to have multiple people from your organization? And then think about, okay, well, do they also need to get media trained? And media training is an exercise where I actually love doing it. So you put a camera in somebody's face, you put lights, hot lights on in front of them, and then they have to dress up, hair and makeup, everything. And then one person's the reporter, and they have to be on their toes to give very good responses. And we throw some curveball questions in there, because if you've watched the news, it's not all following a script of, okay, next question, okay, next question, okay, next question, and you're perfectly prepared. Sometimes there'll be a random question, so you have to learn how to guide it and get it back on track to where you want it to be, where you want to steer the conversation, with not looking like you're totally skirting the question that got asked to you. So we do that with multiple spokespeople, or we do it with one individual spokesperson. And it is a different experience to have video on than just have audio. Even some of the podcasts now are video podcasts. And so you have to have a good background, and you have to have good lighting, and you have to be able to rehearse a little bit so that you're comfortable with the answers. So key characteristics of B2B PR, focused on establishing expertise through thought leadership. This could be an article like Forbes Business Council, for example, has an area that you can write articles. This targets decision makers within organizations rather than individual consumers. I'm thinking of one example of one of our DEI training clients called Equitify, and their CEO, Dr. Vic Baker, wrote an article that went in a pharmaceutical trade publication, and it was talking about how to build community and how to build trust, and how to hear from diverse voices. in the pharmaceutical community. And so that was very niche to that audience. So again, you want to look at your audience of that media outlet and think about what pieces of information or what value are you providing to them with the information that you're providing. Next, this B2B PR emphasizes rational, value-based messaging over emotional appeals. So we're probably not going to have the heck of a dog cologne in dog's breath stuff going inside of this pharmaceutical trade publication. It's going to be more sophisticated thought leadership. This is going to show that it requires a deep understanding of complex business challenges and solutions. I just talked to a gentleman who does videography for attorneys, and he is in one trade journal for attorneys, for trial lawyers, very, very, very specific. And so he's talking about the difference between building a jury for a court in Boston versus doing that in Ventura County. And so it's very, very different. All right. So B2B PR strategies. One example is developing authoritative content demonstrating subject matter expertise, securing speaking opportunities at industry conferences and events. This is another great one because then you get to publicize the fact that you're going to be a speaker. And you'll probably get business from doing your speaking engagement. Next is creating detailed case studies showing a return on investment and business impact. What happened when you did this? And then cultivating relationships with trade publications and industry analysts. We just did this for a client in the energy sector, that there is a gentleman at Bloomberg, and they're looking for industry insights. So those types of relationships are excellent because if they can go back and use you as a resource, then it's a good long-term relationship. Next, content considerations. So the content should be more technical and in-depth than consumer-facing content. It's less lighthearted and more nitty-gritty. It would focus on business outcomes, efficiency, and return on investment. And it often has longer sales cycles requiring sustained relationship building. We talked about this in one of the first discussions too, that, a lot of business-to-business relationships, business-to-business transactions are probably higher dollar value than selling a $19.99 widget on television. So it's maybe like a $19,000 annual subscription to something, or it's, services that somebody's providing to you, and you're paying tens of thousands of dollars for it as opposed to $20. So you would expect that it has a longer life cycle, a longer sales cycle. All right, next is values and industry insights over viral trendy content. The viral content in the B2B space is few and far between compared to the business to consumer space. So just have realistic expectations there. All right, so let's go into business to consumer, B2C. This is for consumer facing brands, and you want to focus on storytelling, engagement, and combining earned media with influencer marketing. And this creates strong brand credibility. So some of these key characteristics are focusing on brand and storytelling and emotional connections, how something makes you feel, and then targeting individual consumers, making personal purchasing decisions, and it emphasizes lifestyle benefits and aspirational messaging. You see this with like skincare cream, like turn back time and try oil of Olay, regenerative, blah, blah, blah. And so, somebody's like, wow, I could turn back time. This sounds great. And so the messaging is a little bit more aspirational rather than let us do this business transaction for you and streamline services in your business. It's a little bit different. And this requires a deep understanding of broader consumer trends and preferences, which is why market research is really helpful, so that you know what those trends are. So some effective strategies would be creating compelling brand narratives, leveraging influencer partnerships that could build authenticity and reach, securing coverage in lifestyle, consumer, or mainstream media. For example, we're going after those categories with this dog cologne, and then developing visually engaging content for social media amplification. Some of the content considerations are more accessible and emotionally appealing than B2B content. The focus on personal benefits, lifestyle enhancements, and identity, and often has shorter consideration cycles, so a faster transaction with purchase, whether it be in retail or online or in person. And then it values storytelling that creates cultural relevance, and shareability. So what does this look like in action? This is something that we did for the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life. And this is in Conejo Valley. So think Thousand Oaks, California, and Agoura Hills, this type of Conejo Valley area, Westlake Village. And they wanted to get more people to participate in Relay for Life. So what we did was we wound up developing out some press materials. We put the press release on the wire with a video, secured a lot of coverage. But the cool thing, the partnership that we set up was actually with VCFC, Ventura County Football Club, which is the professional soccer league in Ventura County. And the reason why I chose to partner with them was because they have their games at California Lutheran University. Well, California Lutheran University is the same exact location where they were going to have this Relay for Life event. So people who would be likely to go there for the games would probably go back and walk around the track. So it happened to be they're going to have a 9/11 game. So it was free for first responders to attend, and it was also in the month of September. And a woman that I played soccer with actually has a daughter who is a survivor of childhood cancer. And so we had kids with childhood cancer or survivors of childhood cancer wear these yellow capes to build awareness for the soccer community. And it was great because they got to get the word out about providing donations to support Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And then Relay for Life Conejo Valley got to invite people to their event. So, and the press loved it too, because this was a great collaboration. They got to have a booth there, and then they got more attendance. And the last year, they only raised $80,000. This year, they raised over $100,000. So they saw a significant increase of overall donations, and it can be attributed to more teams that were created and more fundraising that happened earlier. So you can see the pickup that happened here. The press release got picked up 131 places, and got the Yahoo Finance coverage. KCLU covered it, which is the NPR. The Acorn did a big feature, which is focused on local people. And this talks about this whole case study demonstrates the value of an integrated PR approach for a nonprofit community event. All right, we're getting toward the end. I want to talk quickly about performance indicators. So these are all things that you can measure in the PR world: media reach and impressions. So how many people saw this coverage, what the share of voice was, and this could be who knew about you before you started doing these PR efforts versus who knows about you after. And this can be a competitive share of voice too. So you can see, oh, well, we only were 3% against our competitors. Then we started doing PR, and now we're 15% share of voice against our competitors. And we took market share from these other competitors. The message pull through is an analysis to show this is what we think we say and who we are, and then this is what consumers or our audience, B2B or B2C, say that we are. And does this align or does this not align? The next piece is website traffic from PR activities, and you can measure this for free via Google Analytics. Next is social media. So you can see what that looks like. And then sentiment analysis. Was it positive? Was it negative? Was it neutral? If it's a good media outlet, it should probably be neutral. Hopefully it's not negative. And if you get positive, that's a 2 thumbs up for you. Next is lead generation. How many leads did you actually get out of it? These are different tools that we use. Cision and Meltwater, we use Google Analytics, we use Sprout Social or Brandwatch. These are different listening tools. And then custom UTM. These are tracking codes that you could put in your press release links, for example, so that you could see who actually went there. And then lastly, PR is part of the overall marketing mix. So PR is stronger, stronger when it's part of an overall marketing mix. If you're just doing PR by itself, it's hard to stand alone. If you get it amplified through some of your other marketing efforts, then this is a home run. So it builds higher credibility through earned media, amplifies other marketing initiatives, creates authentic brand narratives, and helps you manage brand perception and supports the long-term brand building. And the integration points, the integration points are with PR, influencer, and affiliate. An affiliate could be the code where somebody types it in and gets a discount or something like that, and you can measure it. And then third-party endorsement impact allows you to have substantially higher consumer trust, improve conversion rates, and enhanced credibility and search engine optimization benefits. So I am ready for any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. There are questions, so let's go. Actually, one of the audience mentioned about one of your slides, B2B.
Yeah.
In the bottom, there was mentioning, I think, B2C. So he was confused if it is B2B or B2C. I guess if it was there, it was a typo, but I'm not sure. Go back to B2B.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Oh, okay. In the
Oh,
bottom,
this one down here. Yeah,
it's a
that should be B2B.
oh, okay. Okay. So I was correct. Okay. So there's a question. Brand is asking, what is a good way for a small business with very limited budget to start using PR?
I think just to announce, maybe a company anniversary would be really easy. So if you've been in business for 5 years, or if you celebrate an anniversary, or you made a new hire, or you got an award for something, or you're launching a new product. So you can develop out a press release and then identify who are the local media who would be able to cover that. And also think about if you're part of a chamber of commerce, for example, a lot of times when you send over your announcement to the Chamber of Commerce, then they could put that in their newsletter to be able to highlight you as well.
Okay. There is another question. It's asking, do you have a recommendation for a course if you want to learn more in depth how to create a PR campaign?
I mean, I'm working on actually creating some courses. So I don't have any today, but the Marketing Maven Method book actually has some pieces in it. You could probably, if you became a member of the Public Relations Society of America, it's called PRSA, then I believe that the PRSA has some type of certification program where you could go through and learn these pieces and study each piece. So that could be an option.
Okay, thank you. There is another question, is that what is the best way to start a relationship with a press contact?
Read their articles so that you actually know what they write about and how they write about it. And I would just send an email introducing yourself to say, hi, I'm a local business, and I've read your articles about XYZ. I'm curious what you have coming up. Sometimes they have something called an editorial calendar, and the editorial calendar you can typically find online on that media outlet's website. And so you would think about, okay, not what's coming up next month, because they are probably already have their stories set, but think about what's coming up if you look out, 4 to 6 months ahead. And then you would see, okay, they have an article about real estate coming up, and I'm a realtor and I am an expert on XYZ. And so you could say, I see that you have a real estate issue coming up in July. And I was wondering if I could be a source for you on that. I am an expert in commercial real estate, or whatever the angle is.
Okay, thank you. And there is one more question. It is, what if the business had media coverage in the past that was not highlighted or showcased to our audience or on our website? Is it recommended to showcase it now, or is it no longer relevant?
Well, you could actually do some stuff that, like, on social media, and go flashback Friday to when we were in, whatever media publication 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or, look how far we've come. And so you can definitely repurpose it. I would definitely recommend having a news page on your website. And on the news page, you would put the old coverage that you had. Plus, you could also have some new press there, even if it's a written press release that you write up, that would be able to live there.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? So we don't have any more questions. If there are no more questions, let me see, no more questions. Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we are just like at 12 on time. Just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you so much, Lindsay. It was a lot of information, and I see that there are comments that you are like so the way you deliver it's really with so much energy. So
Thanks.
thank you so much. And I have another question. There's a comment here. I am a TV entertainment producer.
Oh, cool.
Raynam. Okay. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, Lindsay. Appreciate it again. Thank you so much. It was so great to have this series with you. Hopefully, we will have more to come. Thank you, everyone, for joining our sessions. I wish you everyone a good rest of the day and week. And I shared the contact information for Lindsay and myself. If there is any questions, please feel free to connect with us. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.